helicopters have been procured for me to go to golf course. Thank you.
I've never said he wasn't a great politician. I'm just saying he's a
It was supposed to be an interview.
How'd you play out there today?
Well, I found the conditions challenging, mostly because there's no grass on the golf course, but there never has been.
I'm thinking about the swag bag, and I have high hopes for the swag bag.
Trash. When you got 3 crevices on the green, your course is trashy.
What's happening, folks? Welcome back. Episode 8, Beltway golfer Alex Dixon here. These weeks are flying by, not going to lie. It's a little bit of work, maybe more than I thought it was to try to churn these out, but I'm enjoying every minute of it. And this week, got another fun one. Buddy Christensen, the owner and proprietor of Golfdom out in Tysons Corner, invited me out, and we sat down in the back of the store in one of the fitting studios, in the Callaway fitting studio, and chatted about all sorts of stuff. I got to hear more about just all the different offerings and everything that goes on within the store, but also the history of the business and how Buddy went from an employee to taking over as the owner of the store, and how Golfdom was originally one of the Washington golf centers, and more about the original family that's got an interesting backstory to how they started everything. And we went into how they've dealt with 2020 and the coronavirus and how they kind of got through that stretch, and a lot of his thoughts on just the state of the industry and what he thinks the retail industry in golf looks like going forward. So I enjoyed it a lot. He was gracious enough to sit down with me it was over 50 minutes. I edited a little bit of out, but it was really cool, and I hope everybody else enjoys it as much as I did. But here you go. Buddy Christensen, episode 8, Golfdom. Enjoy. All right, we're here at Golfdom with Buddy Christensen. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing awesome.
Awesome.
So let's start at the beginning. So you are the proprietor and owner of Golfdom.
I am. Yes, I've purchased it in 2014, so 6 going on 7 years. But I started working in 1987 as a high school junior, so I've been around for a while.
Folks that have never been to Golfdom, what is it? Like what obviously we're a golf store, we're a golf store, but tell us a little bit about what you offer, why people come here.
We're a golf specialty store, and we like to have, we do have a decor of a nice pro shop. So when you walk in, it's a pro shop feeling environment, but it's large, it's bigger than a pro shop would typically be. And we offer a whole spectrum of golf products. I mean, one of the things that sets us apart is apparel. It has, since we opened up in this location, kind of sets us apart from the typical golf retailer. But across the spectrum, we've got obviously clubs. We've got 4 high-tech fitting bays with co-sponsored with TaylorMade, Callaway, Titleist paint going across the back of the store, as well as shoe department, and we do a lot of outerwear, and then a lot of accessories and apparel, outlier products, belts, and a lot of pants and some things like that.
There's not a lot in the world of golf that you can't get taken care of here at Golfdom.
No, we try to be able to just do everything that has to do with golf, and even maybe a little bit outside of golf.
Yeah. So obviously clubs, obviously different golf gear, apparel. You hit on the hitting bays and the studios, which I want to get more into a little bit later on. But I've had clubs regripped here. You obviously do fittings.
We do fittings. Club repair is a big part of what we do. I've got 4 very, very capable club builders, repair capability guys. 1 full-time person that does that, but we're doing so much right now, and to be able to do that on the fly is great. But for some of the brands, and more now than a few years ago, we're able to fit and then build. So I can get components from a handful of companies. It started with PXG, and every piece of PXG we fit and built and sold to the customer that we've sold. So Titleist just started selling us components, and there's a handful of others. Callaway's been doing it for a while, and so we're able to do that as well.
Got it. And so that's primarily for fitting a golfer that comes in and wants some very specific things from those brands.
Correct. That's for a person that needs more than just an off-the-shelf type of set, and more than just a little tweak off of that. Because I would say 80% of the clubs we sell have some sort of tweak off of just an off-the-shelf set.
Do you have any, without specific numbers, do you know what percentage of golfers coming in here, ballpark, are getting that level of specification on specific components fitted to a specific brand versus just buying off the shelf?
I would say in our environment, we're more slanted towards that type. Now that's not everyone. I would say ballpark, I would say 25% get very technical in where they end up. I would say the next 50% get pretty technical. Something in there that makes it a little bit differently. And then maybe 15 to 25% are I just need this and this is going to work. I'm average height. I'm playing once every 2 months and give me what I need. Yeah,
I think I fall something in that middle bracket. I bought a set of irons here. Got them fitted for, I think I got them an extra half inch or something like that on the length, and got fitted for some new shafts, but beyond that didn't get too overly technical.
Yeah, and that's helpful coming from just a stock set, obviously. Right. But yeah, you can dial it in even more if you really want to, have the desire to. It's not all just about ability, but that plays into it as well.
Got it. So you're the owner of the business. How big's your staff?
We've got 20 full-time.
20 full-time people. And so you touched on it earlier. You became the owner what year?
In 2014.
2014. So obviously we're going to talk a lot more about the business today, but I want to jump into the history of Golfdom a little bit. Mm-hmm. So Golfdom started as one of the Washington golf centers, correct?
Correct. So Joe Chang was our founder, and he opened up in 1982 as part of the Washington Golf Center chain, and it was maybe 4 or 5 stores. Shirlington was the big store.
Shirlington was one of the last ones still open, right?
It was the last one, I believe. Yes.
That only closed maybe
2010.
2000. Oh, that long ago. Wow.
Yeah.
Seems like yesterday.
Yeah. So he started that. To go back on him, he was in the restaurant business and owned several steakhouses, and it's even a wilder story about where he came from nothing and built himself up to this restaurant business, and when he was in his late 30s, he had a stroke, and so he realized this is just too much hustle bustle. I need to take a step back. So I believe he was going to get into the wallpaper business. So that's how we're just doing something different. It wasn't like a completely planned thing. And his kids, who are all good friends of mine, said that they had this meeting, they're going into the wallpaper business. Weeks later, days later, sometime later, he comes home and says, wait, we're getting in the golf business. So literally it was down to, just a hasty, okay, this is where we're going to go. We see this opportunity. So he became part of the Washington Golf Center group. And
the Washington Golf Center group, so they were, like you said, 5, 6, 7 locations. They were all owned by different.
Yeah, Charlie Che was the owner of maybe a few of them, and then they were blood relatives. And I've got a pretty good knowledge of all this. Some of this might be a little bit, but they were, a sister of Charlie Che was married to someone else, and he owned one store. So Mr. Chang didn't have any blood relatives as part of the group, but was part of the group. So he started in '82 at I believe it was about a 5,000 square foot store. And over the next 15 years, he expanded it twice. Knocked out a wall, took the next one over, knocked out another wall, took the next one over. So it was up to...
That was here in this location?
No, that was over in off of Spring Hill Road.
Okay.
And I believe it was about 7,500 square feet to 10,000 square feet, something like that in the end, at its biggest size. So in the early 90s, he bought this land, which was the car wash, Finnegan's Car Wash at the time, and these were just some trees behind the car wash, with the plan to build this. Just bought the car wash to get to this land, and didn't realize how great the car wash business was, certainly at that time. And so that's Champion's Car Wash.
That's still here?
That's still here.
Right on
Route 7.
Yeah, Route
so
7.
we're connected. So the family owns this property, the car wash and the store property, and it's called Champion Car Wash because Joe Chang's nickname was the Champion. So anyway, in the early 90s, he bought this land and built this building, through in the mid 90s. In 1997, we moved over here. And when we moved here,
were you working?
I was working. So I started my junior year in high school in the old building. It went through one expansion while I was in college. So I would work my summer and winter breaks, which was great because you caught the golf season when I got back from school, and then I caught the Christmas rush. So it was nice. I really enjoyed that, and went from stocking stuff when I was 17 years old to working at the cash register to selling, and I really enjoyed selling. And so in '93 I graduated, and he bought this land. So this was part of the plan, which attracted me to stay with the company. And in '97 we moved here, and we changed the name slightly to Tysons Washington Golf. And part of that was he was starting to separate from the group, not fully, but a little bit. And so we weren't Washington Golf Center, and it was a little bit messy in terms of gift certificates. We weren't sharing at one point, and then eventually in 97, 98, it was getting to be too much, and we said we've got to come up with another name. And I remember we had a marketing person working with us, and he had one of the ads said best selection in all of Golfdom, and it was just Golf in the Kingdom was a big book at the time. So we were trying to come up with a name, and I'm like, that Golfdom thing was pretty cool that was in there. I didn't like it at first, but so I would ask friends of mine, what do you think of Golfdom? And almost everyone would say that's terrible. And they'd call me back the next day, and they're like, you know what, I was thinking about that. That Golfdom sounds kind of cool. It sounds different. So so eventually we changed the name to Golfdom in '99, and
here we
went
go
from there.
And recently, Joe Chang, unfortunately, passed away.
Joe passed away. He sold the business in 2009 to his son Young, who was a very close friend of mine, and I basically ran the business for Young, and Joe was diagnosed with cancer somewhere in that time after 2009. So he built all of this, retires, gets ready to enjoy the rest of his life, and finds out this news. And Young and I were talking, and that was kind of the beginning of me purchasing the business, because he said, look, this is not really my passion. I know it's your passion. Let's look at how we can do this. So it took us a while, and it was a cool process. And again, I feel like part of their family, and their family to me. But we worked through that whole thing. But all the while, Mr. Chang was going through his treatments, and doing quite well at times, and not so well at other times, and so it's been a difficult run for him, but it felt like things were okay, and it took a quick turn for the worse right before Father's Day, and he passed away. So
Certainly, my condolences, because obviously you're really close to the family. One of the reasons I even brought it up was after the news of his passing, I saw you mention or make reference to it on social media, and saw the memorial setup you have in the lobby of your Golfdom. But the same day, I saw his other son post about it on social media. And his other son is quite well known. He has several million followers on social media. He's the celebrity chef, David Chang.
Yep. Yeah, no, David, like I said, so the oldest son, June, was with our business. All of them have worked in the business as we were growing up. And the oldest is Esther, who's actually about my age. She was a year ahead of me in school. And then June was the oldest son, and he was the one I played high school golf against, and kind of the connection I made to even start working here.
Okay.
And then Young was a year younger, and then 7 years younger is David. So David
was that much younger?
Oh, wow. A lot younger. And he won a Virginia State championship when he was, I think it was 9 and under. So he was 8 or 9 years old, and it was maybe even 9 holes back then. So he was into golf.
Right.
And this was maybe right before I started working, or maybe, around that time. So I saw David grow up from when he was 8 or 9 until he was, through high school, and he would work here, and some of his breaks he didn't enjoy working here at all. And you could tell he was very, he's a passionate person, and you could see he's got the fire to go do something. Yeah. What that's going to be, we don't know. And Mr. Chang, coming from the restaurant side, I think there's something there, and he kind of brought all that together. And he actually, I'm sure you've read, but he went to school and got out of school and wasn't even planning on getting into that side of the business. He was looking at maybe an office job and was miserable doing that. And then he goes back to culinary school, and I just remember when he first opened the first restaurant, and they were struggling. He was getting a little bit of media play, but it wasn't doing all that well. And then all of a sudden, it just starts taking off, and it's amazing what he's done.
Yeah, he's built an empire. I'm sure most folks listening know who he is, but if you don't, just look up David Chang and Momofuku and his whole empire. But I'll also encourage, David Chang has his own podcast that probably has a million X number of listeners compared to this one. But he did a really kind of interesting and touching episode just a few weeks ago, kind of in memoriam of his father, and talked a lot about their complicated relationship as it pertained to golf.
Yeah, no, and I think I listened to that, and it's I lived that. This was back 25 years ago, and still is a family business, but truly they worked. I saw this family work together, and the dynamics can be interesting when you're at work together all day and at home together at night. And Joe's not an easy person. I mean, he was a hard-nosed, we're going to get this done type of person, and that I like that. I can work with that, but I also know there were times where I had problems with that, and so I could feel what they, and that's just from an employee standpoint, much less a family member.
Sure, interesting. All right. Well, so now you've been the owner for 6 years or so.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about present day Golfdom. So we're filming this and recording this in the Callaway Performance Center.
Yep.
Fitting studio, hitting bay.
Yeah, the Callaway Performance Center. We opened this in. I want to say it's been 12 years ago.
Wow.
So this was cutting edge when we first opened it. I think it was the 7th one in the country.
Oh, wow.
And actually, the technology up there was CPAS, which was Callaway's proprietary technology. And one thing we battled for a while was, TrackMan becomes the thing, and it's excellent, and we have 4 of them. But the CPAS unit was really, really good back then indoors. TrackMan wasn't as good indoors, and I'm going back 5-6 years. And my fitters were like, this stuff's awesome, but the consumer expects TrackMan. They don't believe that this is better than what they are. So we struggle with that for a while. That you get a name but that's not exactly what we need here.
How does that work? So you touched on this earlier. So you have these different studios are different brands. Like this is Callaway.
Correct.
And what were the ones you have?
So Titleist. So we built the Callaway one. It's gone gangbusters for years. It's been a staple of what we did, and it's the center of our store in the back, right? So obviously some of the other vendors look at this and say, well, we would like to participate and have a fitting center.
Like, are you only fitting Callaway clubs in the studio?
Yeah, so originally that would have been the plan, or that was the plan, and that's what we did. That's changed over time. We'll make sure that if you're getting fit here, the Callaway's represented in this fit, and we do that with the TaylorMade room and the Titleist room as well, and Ping. But it's morphed into more of a. I mean, they're represented. We have tons of their demos available, all kinds of extra fitting capability within each of their brands. So it allows more of that. So it's not specifically you walk in here because you want Callaway or in there because you want Titleist. We can fit for some other things, but the idea is that we've got everything around it.
And are these primarily used just for fittings, or are there lessons as well, or not?
So we typically, it's just fitting going on in here. I've had PGA pros that have worked for me, and we have them giving lessons in here. John Eisman's worked winters in here when he didn't have the capability that he does now, so that won't happen in this last year. The weather was so great, he didn't really come in, but in previous years he'd come in, set up, and give his lessons to his customer and my customers, and so we have that capability. During this time of year, during the middle of summer, we're just packed with fitting, so I don't really have the room to do that. But in the winter time, it's an opportunity.
Are there options for someone coming off the street that wants to take a few swings with a new club that they're considering buying? Do you really have to set up a fitting appointment? Or
No, we've got bays that we offer, either a quick fit, if you want to just try some different products, we have that as well. It's not all just paid fits.
This is the largest independently owned and most well-known golf store in the region. Probably by far, right?
Yeah, probably by far. There's not many of us out there anymore.
I should have touched on this earlier. I mean, telling you that, like, why did this succeed in the other Washington golf centers? You think not?
There's all kinds of reasons why. I'm sure. This business, when I bought it in 2014, we were in the midst of, as an industry, a really, really tough time. So I bought it knowing what I was getting into, and 2 years later, I'm like, I kind of knew what I was getting into, but wow, this is difficult, because 14, 15, 16, or really 2012 through 2016, it was tough in the golf industry. They were, drivers were coming out at $399. Within 6 months, they were $299. Within another 3 months, they were $199. And I didn't realize this until we started living that consumers thought we were paying what we were paying and selling it for $399 and $299 and $199. And the manufacturers were helping us come down, so it wasn't like we were making all this money at $399 and then coming down from there. There used to be, I'd go on trips with the vendors and there'd be 50 of us in our boat. And then there were 40 of us, and then there were 30 of us. Now it's down to about a handful of guys. And they're Carl's Golfland in Michigan, Golf and Ski up in the Northeast, New York Golf Center. I'm good friends with all of them because, we're kind of in this world that not many people exist right now in terms of being independent off-course retailers with, just a few stores. And there's not even really that many chains. You got Golf Galaxy, PGA Tour Superstores, and Worldwide Golf, who owns Edwin Watson and a variety of other brands, or store brands. So anyway, we survived that time. Part of it, I would say, surviving was the fact that we had very, very good relationships with the manufacturers, and that goes back to Joe Chang. He was very in tune with having those relationships, and that's not just having them. It's making sure that we're doing the right things for our vendors, so that they're doing the right things back for us, and others may not have had that type of relationship, and that would hurt.
Do you think, obviously the internet has changed the retail landscape more than anything, right?
Yeah. I remember back in the 90s, sporting goods stores, Sports Authority, and even Dick's was not that big. It was Sports Authority and maybe a couple others. That was the big worry of the retailers, golf and specialty retailers, and that played itself into being part of it, and that ate up a lot of the stores. Then the next wave, and it's been a long wave, is the internet side. Nice thing about that is we can participate in that, as well as others. Not to the same scale. We don't choose to go to the same scale. Carl's has chosen to go to a large scale on that front, but it's there if you really want to go after it. But it's part of what we deal with. And when we go back to the pricing standpoint, the consistency of the pricing is helpful in the internet, where it could be wild west, and one guy's just trying to get rid of something and dumps it for $200 because it's the last one he has, and all of a sudden that becomes the price for everything across the country, and that would be a disaster.
And so on that, so the manufacturers, they control the pricing quite a bit.
So yeah, we're able to choose to sell them for what we want to sell them for. There's a lot of legal language and how they do that. I think at the end of the day, it's providing consistency so that the consumer is not going to have to go hunt and peck and find where the best deal is, and there's ways. We honestly believe that we're servicing our customers to the point where price is not necessarily going to be what it's all about. Now, you've got to be fair on your price. You've got to make sure that everything is worthwhile for the consumer that's purchasing it. But at the end of the day, if they're only thinking about price, then we're probably not providing any kind of extra incentive for them to buy.
Sure. So a couple questions. One is, I just noticed recently you guys started kind of a used refurbished club or equipment operation, kind of in the storage space back there.
Yeah, so that's right now kind of a victim of COVID. Not a victim, but we have Golfsmith. When I go through the history, in 2016, Golfsmith went under, and we figured we were going to see this onslaught of more value priced sales, because they had more of that. We were selling, PXG high end, and so we were very, aware that we needed to get to that. And then all of a sudden, when the Epic came out, and I guess it was the M1, M2 for TaylorMade, all of a sudden the normal upscale clubs just took off. Yeah. And so we were like just trying to keep up with that, and so we couldn't get to this value setup that we really wanted to, and we finally had the time over this last winter. So we've sold all our used equipment on eBay. And
what's the name of the eBay store?
It's Golfdom Back 9. Yeah.
Golfdom Back 9. Okay.
So, and we would buy some product for that. We buy some off-priced product, and one of the things in the old store, old location, we had a used club section, and there was not a, access. People didn't have access to the internet to go kind of browse and see what that. And you would get, our best customers come in every week, just pluck through it and see what they could find. It's kind of a hunt and peck fun thing to do. The internet's changed that in a big way, and that if you lost your Ping Eye 2 7-iron, you can go find it now.
Yeah.
Back then, you were probably not going to find it, but if you did, that would be how you found it. So
you're also trusting, like if I go online on whether it be eBay or Craigslist, and I'm buying, trying to replace my wedge, I'm trusting that I'm buying from a guy that it's not.
Correct.
He's being honest about it, that he hasn't banged it against the side of a wall a million times, whereas your story comes from a trusted.
Yeah, we promote the fact that when you're buying on eBay from us, you've got this backbone. We've got a real business that we need to uphold everything we would do for a consumer coming in the door. So this back nine eBay thing's been there all along, and it's been successful for us. But we started getting more and more customers coming in, looking. They'd see it on eBay and they'd want to come in here and look at it. So we tried to figure out a way to offer that. And what we came up with is we have this section in the back that we would sell all our eBay product out of. We knocked the wall out, and now it's available for consumers to walk through. And we've done a couple other, we had different lighting and flooring and some different things. But literally, we were getting that set up to run on March. It was the Friday of the Players Championship that we were going to have the launch.
When everything went down. And
everything went down that week, and literally we're like, okay, we had a soft opening March 1st, and it's open for consumers. A couple things have happened. The traffic is less. The foot traffic from our consumers is less. Browse and just kind of slowly walk through the store, and that's
since you reopened after.
Yeah.
How long were you closed for?
We were closed. So we closed March 21st, and we were allowed to open with 10 customers, and we were rolling through March 15th. Now, rolling in January, February, early March isn't going to make your year, but it was feeling like we were. And my inventory, I said, was the highest we've ever had. Heading into the season that was, Tiger's going to be defending at the Masters, and the weather's been great, we're ready to roll, and then everything came crumbling. So March 21st, we closed down, and we just we were doing internet sales, we were doing curbside pickup. I had, 4 or 5 of us in here spread across the store. We didn't know, how this was all playing out. And then we got to 5 or 6 guys, and then my apparel merchandisers were coming in to help, get the store ready, and we just weren't sure when we were going to do it. And we got midway through April, and we realized, May 1st is kind of a new calendar. Let's do that for 10 customers. So literally had a manager stationed in the lobby, interviewing people as they came in. And if they, the tone was set that you're here to get a pair of shoes, you get your pair of shoes and you get out of here. Just the opposite of what we're used to doing and what we like to do, but we had to. And we adhered to making sure that there was 10 customers only in the store, and there would be a line outside. It never got too long. Eventually, when it started getting longer, people would wait in the car, and we'd have to keep track of who's coming in next. And then late May, it switched to half capacity, and then ultimately back to full capacity. But at half capacity, we could operate fully. Fully in that we never get to half capacity in here at our peakest days. But back nine, literally, we're also having problems getting product for it because
people aren't dropping off clothes.
Yeah, there are
a lot of them from trade-ins.
The trade-ins, we're trying to get more in, but even some of the off-priced products are selling so quickly everywhere that they're running out. Package sets, box sets are they're just flying off the shelf.
Because I'm sure on the one hand you're getting less foot traffic, but you know, a lot of people would talk about how there's a big upswing in golf. It's one of the safest things to do throughout COVID-19. So they're spending, they're buying more clubs online.
Yeah, and you know, we had a record-breaking month in June. It was crazy, and then July would actually be our record-breaking month, except for the June that we just experienced. So it's been a wild run. So you go from completely, and literally I signed the papers to buy the business on March 21st, 2014. We rolled it back to March 1st. And I shut the store down on March 21st, 2020, the 6-year anniversary. So there were some weird, you know, times then, and we just weren't sure what was gonna happen, and we made some things happen in April. And then we started doing some business in May, and then we've really been doing business since. So it's just, you could have never convinced me that on March 1st that we would be where we were on April 15th, and on April 15th you could never convince me where we would be on July 30th. So it's
been a pretty wild spring.
It's been a wild run this year.
Yeah. You guys also got creative. I saw you did a pretty fun promotion with TJ Oshie.
Yeah, we so when this all went down, we've got a few of the Capital players, a lot of them they're big golfers, great guys, just down to earth humans. You know, they're fun guys to talk to, and when all of this went down, they were, you know, their worlds were up in arms and not sure what was going on, but they're like, is there anything we could do to help out? So we came up with this promotion where we said, hey, if you spend with TJ Oshie, who's number 77, we'll give you a $100 gift card if you buy it for $77. And the caveat was it would be good on May 1st. So that would get us some cash flow to get us through the next year. Consumers getting a 23% discount at the end. So we started that on March 21st, and then TJ was unbelievable. It says, hey, I'll post it on my social media. And when you talk about David Chang's social media versus yours right now, I mean, that's a lot more impact level. And so he did a video promoting it. He said, I'll sign 100 really cool. We did 50 and 50 of the, you know, one of him holding the cup up, one of them celebrating the goal. That was really cool. So he really helped that going. So we went March 21st to March 31st, and then we extended it for another, I think, 15 days, and we sold a ton of them, and it was a cool thing. It was a fun thing. I think, you know, I wrote a little note to TJ to thank him, but also it provided, you know, what we needed at the time from a cash flow, just mentally, that we're about to attack, you know, $0 days. But it gave my whole staff kind of an uplifting, like, okay, this is fun, this is cool.
Also COVID related, you've been posting a lot about the Big Macs push carts.
Yeah.
Is that just because they're so popular, or is it simply because so many people are doing more walking right now that push carts are flying out the door?
Yes and yes. One of the Big Macs, so, you know, there's a handful of manufacturers of carts, you know, Bag Boys, Sun Mountain, Click Gear, more than that, but Big Macs is one that we've carried along with those others, but it did get to the point where you couldn't get it. I remember.
Why is that one so much more, or why does it seem to be so?
I can get it right now, so that's why, you know, the cart's excellent, but.
So a lot of those other brands' carts, they just can't get them?
I can't get them. So we just got some Bag Boy Nitrons in. I'm getting those 12 at a time, but Big Macs, and again, it goes back to a relationship with a gentleman who used to run some other companies that I knew way back in the day, that he's running this, and we've dabbled in it, and always thought it was very good product. We didn't sell a ton of them, partly because it was this mix and people didn't necessarily know the brand. But yeah, over the last 60 days, it's been the one that can ship to me. So March 21st we closed, so maybe early April we started seeing this push cart craze. And part of it was some places weren't even letting carts go out because they didn't know how that was going to work. Others were letting one rider on carts, so they were running out of carts. So people rushed in to buy these. A lot of private club people, and then that's spread out from there. And I think people are genuinely enjoying walking, and this helps from carrying your own bag to have a push cart. And it's, you know, we're still selling them, and I expect that still to go on through the fall.
Interesting. It seems to be the hottest product right now. I've got an old push cart in my garage. Maybe I need to stick it up on eBay.
You know, when this first went on, our carts sell, you know, the ones we sell are from $250 to $400 range. They were selling click gears for $900 on eBay.
So I got a question on kind of the apparel side.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I kind of exist in a little bit of the Instagram world, tiny niche here. But in that world, there's a lot of these kind of golf startups selling their own, like just you know, a guy in his garage starting a brand on Instagram,
mm-hmm.
and a lot of them have gotten some pretty big followings, and are probably selling a lot of gear. I've noticed just personally coming in here over the years that on the apparel side, you brought in some of the new hip brands, that, you know, the Johnny O's and the Travis Matthews and the Link Soles of the world.
Yep.
G4.
Yep.
What's your thoughts kind of on that whole landscape of social media, these upstart brands, and how that affects or everything?
Yeah, I mean, as far as social media goes, we dabble in social media. We try to, and a lot of our postings have to do with the apparel, because you can make some pretty pictures with the apparel. We try to have some creative ways of doing other things as well. But no, I've been very lucky to have an apparel buyer who's got a very good eye for these brands, and she's brought in some of these brands that, you know, sometimes it'll be us coming to her saying, hey, you should take a look at this, but a lot of times it'll be her that she finds these brands, and you know, as an owner, as a controller of the inventory, you know, I get nervous sometimes having a little bit into a lot of brands, as opposed to, you know, 5 brands that we have. We're deeper on all of them. But that all of them have held their weight and sold through very well. Again, based on how well they're being bought, I think is a huge part of it. And having someone to service the area, we you know, our sales staff has the knowledge to kind of walk you through what these different brands are and how they fit, and so that's important as well.
Are there any in particular now that are flying off the shelves, or particularly hotter versus one or the other?
Well, you know, apparel has been the slowest to get back in this whole, and part of it is, you know, you walk in here and you can browse through the store, and again, the mentality of browsing. You know, I got my mask here that you know, you're I think people are more comfortable now than they were 30 days ago than they were 30 prior to that, but there's still, it's not a smooth process all the way through. And so therefore, you know, if you want golf clubs, you get in here, you get golf clubs. But if you want apparel, you kind of got to commit to, I got to try it on, and we've got, you know, processes in place of once it's tried on, and there's you know, just different aspects to it. It's coming back. We've had a good run over the last 45 days with apparel, or 60 days, but that's been the slowest to come back. So because of that, I don't know that we've analyzed so much of, you know, who's doing what, where we would normally be doing.
So what's the future of Golfdom? You have the one location. Have there ever, obviously this year's probably turned up a lot of things upside down because it's been so crazy, but have there ever been thoughts of expansion?
Yeah, there's always thoughts. And some things have been close. We actually had a second store in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania.
So I was literally playing with a guy yesterday morning in East Potomac, and he mentioned that.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the same one.
Yeah, so that's an interesting story. We had, you know, our location here. We were looking in Rockville for years and could not find the right location. And the agent that we were working with said, I got you Rockville. It's just not Rockville. It's King of Prussia. And so June went up there and they found the spot. It was in a mall, and it was about the same size as our store. It was less deep and longer. And we opened that up in 2003. I was dealing with both stores, driving back and forth every week from about 03 to 06. And then in 06, June had left the business. June came back and bought the store from Mr. Chang. And he was running it from 2006 on. So we had a 3-year window where we were connected. We were connected by name after that. And 2008, market crashes, and they got hit really hard up in Philly, and he just wasn't able to recover, and he shut it down 2009. So we've had 2 stores. We actually looked at the Golf Galaxy location in Rockville. Unbeknownst to us, we were bidding with them on that location back in, I think this is mid 2005 to 2010, somewhere in there.
Yep.
Probably 2004, because I think they're 15-year lease. Maybe it was a 10-year lease. But anyway, they moved out of that location in Rockville. But we liked that location. So we've looked at some things. Mr. Chang, taught me a lot, tons of things, and he was always conservative in that regard. As far as opening more locations, he would take advantage of an opportunity if it's a real opportunity, but you got to be sure that this is going to work. So I've always had that mentality, and I get calls, a fair amount of calls on, hey, we've got a spot for you here or there, and we just haven't seen the right thing. But I wouldn't put it out of the picture.
Yeah.
Completely.
Well, you're clearly doing things the right way, and it seems to be working. 2 more quick things. So VIG.
Yep.
Very important golfer. Not to be confused with VIP.
Right. Or VIG. So we started that program, early 2000s. Maybe just after we started when we moved to the Golfdom name, but that was kind of loosely based on REI's rebate program, and we've gone through different iterations of it, and the rules slightly changed, but essentially it's a customer loyalty program that we can get a rebate back, and there was other benefits to the program that we've had over the years, but it's a staple of who we are and what we do. Our best customers are VIGs, and they look forward to those quarterly rebates, and that's been a really, really cool program.
Excellent. This has been great. I'm sure the folks listening to this or watching this, most people have certainly shopped here before. If they haven't and they're in this area, they've at least heard of Golfdom. If you haven't been here, come in. They've got literally everything you could possibly want related to the game of golf. Really appreciate you having me out and coming on Beltway Golfer, and it's been great.
Yeah, no, this was fun, and fun to kind of reminisce a little bit on where we are and how we got here, and good luck to you on your travels around.
I appreciate that. Excellent. Thank you, bud.
Thank you.
I don't have a good golf game, but I don't really care. I'm a regular dude living in DC, and I want to know about DC-centric golf stuff. If you can tell me something that I don't already know, then that is great for me. I don't want the regular stuff. I want exciting stuff. I want different stuff. I want stuff I can't hear elsewhere. But I want it to be about DC golf.